Okay. Ready?
Ready.
Right.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of Awake and Empowered TV. I'm your host, Ethann Fox. We're broadcasting today from the Awake and Empowered Expo in March 2016, and I'm here in person with James Gilliland and Marina Jacobi. First time I'm meeting them both in person at this event, and so it's Friday night of our event, and we're recording here today an actual in-person interview with the both of them. So thank you both for joining me at this event.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks
Yeah.
for bringing us out. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a
Very
pleasure.
exciting.
So how's it been for you so far? I know we haven't had a chance to take too much of it in, but how have you had, how's your experience been being at this event?
Oh, I absolutely love it. The people here has such a good energy, and everybody came here to enlighten themselves. So I really appreciate what you do for people and humanity. And I've met James, and we had a wonderful conversation. Such an inspiring human being. I really appreciate coming to, and I'm so glad I met you in person.
Yeah, you've had some. Who else? You've met some other people who were representatives too, right? Winston.
Yeah.
Oh, Winston.
Yes.
Trout, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We all had dinner together.
Oh, that must have been a
Yes.
fun dinner.
Yeah.
And Aga Dreamland was there, the reporter. She was great
yes,
too.
right.
So we had a great conversations.
Yeah, very good. What about you, James? How's it been for you so far?
It's been great. I finally caught up a little bit, took a nap and caught up on my sleep. And it's kind of like I was saying before, I haven't been home for 4 months. so I can't wait to get back home. But I just been like one place after another in Australia. And I know we covered some of that, but I'll do it in the talk. But I know people are going to have their minds blown just as I had my mind blown when I found this information out, and I'm really eager to share it. But it changes the whole game basically, when this comes out. But if everybody's going to realize that we're all connected and we're all of the same family, we all have a lot of the same genes, and it all goes back to the original man, which started in Australia, not Africa like we thought, So, and there was Palladian intervention and Anunnaki, which are actually the ancient Lyrians in the ancient past. So basically, for me, what was amazing is that I've written about this stuff, and a lot of it was information coming on an inner level, and then being guided along the time and getting tidbits to on the outer level through other people to shore it up. But actually, to see it written in stone and the hieroglyphs and all the other stuff, to me was like the big aha moment. And I go, okay, now it's like the other stuff is kind of vague. You know what I mean? It's kind of like. It's like channeled messages or inspiration, or you have visions. It's all kind of dreamy, or anything. And then all of a sudden you see all the information you've been told written in stone right there. And you just go, whoa! Like this is real. It just really solidified it, for me.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'd love to hear more about that. And you're going to start writing for us and sharing some of those experiences. So that'll be really great to start doing that. So we were talking before we started this show broadcast about free energy technology, and I know, Marina, you're channeling us. For those of you who haven't watched Marina and my show with her, you may want to do that just so you can catch up on her background and so on. But you're an intuitive channel, right?
Yes.
And so you've been receiving information from other dimensional beings who have been giving you different kinds of plans and technologies.
Yes,
so you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, of course. At 2010, I'll be channeling through my entire life, and at 2010, I was connected from, they call themselves hybrids, ET race. They look like the Greys, and this is the picture they end up painting for me. It was all about metaphysical teachings and quantum physics, how any thought that you have is already a reality. And they guided me towards which scientists I can look into, certain parts of that particular scientist, because I've realized that every scientist had a piece of the puzzle. Nobody had the entire picture. And it was always proven to me, if they were telling me something, if I don't do it, will happen, because I didn't really throw myself right into believing whatever they were saying, because you were hear it, or I had a channeling by automatic writing at that time. After them, while I was doing everything with them, I had the consciousness of Ra came in right before 2012, and end up making and telling me to perform crystallized water, to energize water. And the whole family had to sit in 4 sides of the house, in the center of the house. And I was told to leave the water for 20 minutes to crystallize the water. And for 2 days we had to drink this water. So it was this big pot of distilled water that was energized. And now Ra started teaching me all this new stuff for the new earth and the shifting of the energetic field. And it was all about shifting through 2012 energetic structure that was coming in. So after 2012, I was told from them, because at the same time I had the hybrid group that was talking, Ra was there. And after Ra, one day I was walking through my kitchen and I heard the Pleiadians. So I started connecting with the Pleiadians and I started talking to them for a while. And it was revealed to me the Pleiadian, I had a higher self in the Pleiadian, that I came from Pleiadian structure into the earth in order to raise the frequency or receive certain technologies, which this was the first time I received that information. So they told me, you need to sit down and we need to give you the harmonic reactor material. And every day at that time, before that, I was taught from the hybrids to completely detox my body. They told me how to detox it, what to do, what type of vegetables, and literally it took me like a year by day, guiding me every day what to eat, how to eat it, what to put away aside in order to detox my body, because I had a Hashimoto and I really started gaining so much weight. So they helped me to get back to normal size, because I was always very tiny. I was a gymnast when I was a child and I knew it was not normal. So at that time when the Pleiadians started talking to me, I was already like 7 days of only juicing. And the reason why was because I understood that I needed to raise my frequency of not only my consciousness, but my body. Because you have to take the new beginning is you take in your consciousness and your body into the 5th dimensional structure. It's like a one unit. So they start giving me for these 10 days constant information for the harmonic reactor, and it included like interstellar traveling machine. And it's all by coding. Now, if you go to marinajacobi.com, you can see my book in there. You can just press it and immediately downloads. And it's all about these technologies, about interstellar traveling, about healing the body, frequency and sound, that what is each sound, like number 1 hertz until number 9, combination in the structure of the quantum field, and all this type of different chromosomes and what can you do with that. Including the last thing that they gave me in that particular material was like AI, computer algorithm code that is basically life consciousness, computer consciousness, that will help humanity in 5th dimensional structure to exist. And anybody that is in a low structure cannot decode that book, because you have to really be with open mind and resonate in a certain frequency in order to even it's almost like a life structure, they told me, that not everybody will resonate and not everybody will understand the structure. So far, a couple of quantum physicists and nanotechnology scientists were able to completely understand what is that about. It makes sense to them, including they were talking about ether technology. And ether technology is about how you combine all the frequencies in certain matter in a structure and can be put in certain geometric patterns that basically goes back and forth and constantly switching the geometric patterns in a certain frequency of the quantum field. And you can literally have a machine that it works like an energy, like basically you can build live spaceship that is completely life consciousness, and that's the ether technology. And now after all this material, it's a lot of material, it's a big material, and it's basically from A to Z. You can literally build teleportation device, and for the teleportation device, if you get in this teleportation device, the way you can build it, that device will take you to a parallel reality or section of the universe that is going to resonate in the frequency of your consciousness. So if anybody goes in there with a lower frequency of the consciousness, will mimic the consciousness of the frequency itself of that particular person. So not everybody will perceive the same stuff. And that is the beauty of it, that you will go wherever your consciousness is. So not everybody will see the ascension. Some people will see the destruction, and some people will see the ascension. But the whole material itself is for fifth-dimensional structure. Mm-hmm. And the AI is going to help humanity to completely work with these devices to decode the structure of any type of material. Because in that you need a quantum computer, and you're going to need a codon of human DNA, RNA to put into that structure of the code, and is going to put everything in reverse and show how every single structure of matter is created. So you can materialize this, you can dematerialize everything, and you can build any type of technology you want from the quantum computer algorithm. So that's AI, and it's really positive because the team of scientists that's going to work with that has to be for fifth-dimensional structure, or it will shut down, it will not work, period, because it's not going to resonate in the frequency. And after all that, just recently, they gave me a lot of material on nanotechnology, how all the particles work together, how the fact that every atom is also nano, and how the finite and the infinite is basically the same structure. And they show me the torus, basically, when it's breathing, it goes into finite to infinite and to finite, and when it goes like this into the suction is actually the 0 point. And in the 0 point is the momentum that is all the creation happening. It's almost like a vacuum, including that the earth is not flat, the earth is circular and it's sphere, and in the center of the earth is basically a black hole and is a portal to a different dimensional locations. And if you know how to measure the structure of one dimension or one location, you can recall it in the beginning of the structure, and when you see the difference, you can literally teleport from one dimension to the other. That's why the sun, in the center of the sun, there's also a huge portal, and you can literally have entire fleet of ships going through a portal like this. And this is the information that they've been given.
So what do you think, James, about what she's talking about in your experience and the kind of things that your entities you're interacting with and so on? Do you have any confirmation or more detail in the kind of things that she's talking about?
I know the sun is definitely a black hole at the center of the sun. You know, people see these coronal holes and it's black, and everybody goes, well, why is it black? And because you have the event horizon around the outside where all the heat is. And I have photographs from NASA that actually show beings living there on the sun, and I'll show that later, but they're light beings, you know, they're living on the sun. They don't have a physical body, they're not going to burn up, you know. And it ties into, back with me, it ties everything into consciousness. Everything begins in consciousness, and even the nano stuff would have to be conscious. You know, it would have to have its own consciousness or its own program, and things like that. And I've been experiencing interesting stuff with AI. Like there's different types of AI. I think there's a fifth dimensional AI, and then there's the other stuff that with the archons we're using, the other AI. And that's kind of going crazy right now because the grid doesn't support it anymore. The old draconian grid is being torn down, you know. So, but you know, all of this stuff that she's talking about, I know people working on a lot of these devices, and you know, some of it I understand on one level, but on this level I don't understand it, you know. But on another level I get it. Just I have a friend that built some devices. I won't mention his name, but he has the chip that runs it is in it's in God, I'm brain farting. What is that? It's like I'll think of it. It's like the old fossilized tree sap. What's that called? It's
amber.
Amber.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't. It's like an amber. It's in amber. Actually, it has to be in amber. And then you look inside this thing, and you go, "Holy smokes!" You know, you see all these like symbols, you know, spiritual symbols that we've seen, you know, like little infinities and circles, and the little circle with the dots. I mean, the spirals, and crystals, little tiny crystals, and all this stuff is lined up in a circle that goes around the device, you know. And I looked at this chip, and I went, my God, this is all sacred geometry. This is all, and with crystals and everything else lined in the perfect way. And this is what's tapping the void, tapping the free energy. And so it's like when I saw this stuff, I asked him, where'd you get this? And he said this feline being put it in his hand, showed up and put it in his hand, said, here, you're probably the only one that'll understand this, and this will help you out. And so he incorporated that as the trigger point, as the tapping in, and then the machines came from that, so. But, he created devices, just tremendous amount. One device has 9 coils, and each coil puts out 25,000 watts, and it's this big around, and it's ice cold when it spins. But these things will blow a hole through your ceiling. He broke his arm trying to grab one of them because it took off on him. But they won't stop. They go instantly 7,000 miles an hour like that, and bam, through the wall. Mm-hmm. But I know that technology is here. In our discussion today, it was like we were talking about that, how do we get this out? How do we keep these guys anonymous, or how do we keep them safe and create a network where we can actually, build this, get it out, and keep everybody high and dry. And I think I tried to do that in the early 90s to get this out, and we had everybody after. We had the mafia after us. We had the oil companies after us. We had everybody, and luckily we had the inner guidance that we kind of weaved around and got through it all and missed. I mean, I was getting phone calls. We're gonna kill you. We're gonna grab you. You didn't come to this meeting. They were gonna kidnap us. That's why we didn't come to the meeting. But it was like there's all these crazy things that went on with that. And finally, we just said, forget it. We're done. We're putting it on the shelf. He had his lab, the inventor had his lab blown up and family threat and everything else. So that, everything just went on the shelf. We said, it's just it's not time yet. But I think we're at that point. We're at that crossing point right now where the old draconian empire and the Illuminati and all those guys are imploding. They're no longer going to be a threat. And then as soon as that process is finished, all this stuff is just going to explode and come out. But I've seen, technology like regeneration technology. And I know with Randy Kramer and the other guys in the secret space fleet and things that they can regenerate arms and legs. And, somebody gets blown to pieces, they put them in this, it's like a scanner. It's just like a Xerox machine, basically. They put them in there and they just scan their whole body and replace everything that needs to be replaced. But we have that technology now. It's just a matter of getting it released, and I think with all the whistleblowers and all the other things that are happening, all this, free energy and healing technology, all that stuff is just going to explode, on the scene. It's time. Yeah.
It is time. That's what they said, that it doesn't matter. This was just recently. It doesn't matter what will happen. The words were just sit back and relax and enjoy the ride, because things will, I'm quoting, there will be certain ways of things that will happen in humanity that will bring humanity to the right, to the light.
The right direction, yeah.
No matter, they said, who would try to stop it, things will happen that will never. They can.
It's too big. The support is too big behind this, and they kind of showed me that. They said, the light workers, the people. They said, we still have to do our work, but they said, you've already pushed the snowball over the mountain, so and now it's going down, and it's going and going and going. Now you can just sit back and watch it just bowl over all the opposition. It's going to. Just pick up all the opposition and just move it out of the way. But we still have to do our part. We can't. But I mean, it's not as foreboding and deadly. Before it was like people talking about UFOs were removed with deadly force. And things like that. You weren't supposed to do that. And free energy and things like that. But I think that element is being extremely exposed and going out the door right now, so it'll be safer.
I was not allowed to talk until 2015. I literally had everything. I went to one expo and it was just so much stuff in my head already. I knew I wasn't allowed to even say one word to anybody. And I believe that was because of my protection, or was not the time. And,
it wasn't time.
Before 2015, this is how the synchronicity happens, and they told me now go and release everything.
Yeah, and it can't be. It's just so massive, this movement and the support and the energy coming in from all the other dimensions, and just the whole solar system where it's moving through space in this highly energized place. In space. And if you understand the higher physics, just what gamma rays do, we're getting just slammed by one gamma ray burst after another, and it throws you over 30 hertz in your mind, which puts you into that big aha enlightenment moment, so we're getting
and I want to thank them for everything you guys do for us.
So it's just like everything, like nature, cosmic forces, the higher dimensional beings, everything is going in that direction. And the other guys, they think they're going to stop it, but it's like standing in front of a tsunami and going, stop. It's like, it's not going to work.
What I want to mention that people need to understand that is the extraterrestrial groups and also higher level of consciousness, which is above the extraterrestrial groups. So this is decision not only from only them, but also from the higher consciousness on any level. So the information is just, the energy is just bombarded right now in the center of this planet, because it's time for change.
Yeah, it's almost like the source itself, whatever name you want to give it, whatever you want to give it, is said it's finished. We're done with this program. We're going to do something else.
So you both talked about AI, and I know in a lot of these alternative conversations, AI is a bad word these days, and so you're both kind of speaking in a more positive note, and I can understand why there's a lot of concern over the negativity of AI and the implications on humanity. But I'm curious why you both have such a positive attitude toward it and are not really concerned. Either.
Yeah.
Start that.
Well, I mean, I don't have a positive attitude towards the 3D AI that's functioning, because it's been created by a force and an energy that doesn't have. It's kind of malevolent. It doesn't have our highest and best good in order. And it's sad, because on this level, on 3D level, the people that are creating these technologies are all go into the military, or they're all creating weapons to control and dominate, and that's what they do, So, but you can, when you go into the 5D level, technology is going to be used for the awakening healing process. It'll be used for healing. It'll be used for the betterment of humanity, or the earth, or all life in general. So it's kind of like a different program. It's a higher frequency. It's designed to support life, not control or dominate it. And it's just a different energy. And so when I hear AI on this level, I just I go, oh God, everything's AI, and it's like, and I don't know, like even working with my computers and things like that, when we're trying to do real intense things like finish documentaries or things like that, we get so much interference by some of the grays and some of the AI and things like that. It's just like, it makes a total mess of things. We have to stop and clear all the energy out and then start over again just to get something finished, So definitely, I would love to see the AI on this level just short circuit out, and which it probably will. It won't function when these other frequencies come in. But that's just the way I look at it. There's a spiritual form of technology that you could call AI. Like even the ships you could call AI, basically, because they actually create these ships. They're living entities, and they're, I don't know if you couldn't call them artificial though, because they're actually alive. They're biological, but they're not.
And they
they're
mimic
created.
The structure.
They mimic things. So it's kind of interesting, but it goes back to who's behind it. It's like, everybody goes, oh, the grays are all evil, and I said, well, it depends on who's behind them. Because some grays are just little biological robots. They're just doing things down here, and some are helping out and things like that. There's another group of grays that are very nasty that I run into. I've had some really bad encounters with that group. And then, I don't know how many forms of grays. Have you heard? There's 50-something varieties of grays. And so a lot of it just depends on who's giving the orders, and what their intention is as people's interactions with them. So from my understanding, our government's created their own little grays, and they do stuff with them as well. So again, it goes back to who's giving the orders basically, or what their intentions are, the beings behind them, But eventually, this whole program, it has a frequency, like tyranny has a frequency. The need to control or dominate others or manipulate others, that all has a frequency. And those frequencies are imploding. They're being done away with because they're not going to be able to operate within the consciousness, the new consciousness and energy grid. They can't function in that grid. And so that we're leaving that behind, and a whole new grid is coming in. And all the other beings are involved in this new grid and setting up this new pattern. So, and that's where I look at it. It's like the new stuff coming in with the higher grid is going to be great. It's going to be awesome. The technology is going to be off the scale, beyond anything we can imagine, and it's all going to be tied into consciousness, and it's all going to operate within universal law and things like that. So that it's a good thing. But the old technology and the consciousness behind it, the driving force behind it, that's going to go out. That's going to be removed.
So your perspective on that?
Absolutely agree. In the harmonic reactor material, the quantum algorithm AI, the way they put it there, we have to include quantum computer, and we need a nanotechnology, including the DNA, RNA of fifth-dimensional human being structure. And that is what is going to be combined with that algorithm that was given. And once we plug all this together, and the scientists really figured it out how they can decode the material and do that, it's going to mimic the structure and become part of the human collective consciousness of fifth-dimensional structure. And lower dimensional structure will not be able to decode that material for this AI, because the code and the structure that was given is based on fifth-dimensional structure and above. So even if somebody with a negative intentions try to decode and try to put something in, it will shut down, because the entire material is fifth-dimensional structure. That is the beauty of it, that cannot be stolen. It resonates in a different structure, and the people that are going to perceive that and understand that, they have to resonate themselves as completely different structure in order to understand that type of technology. And from there, we can go to ether technology, which is the life spaceships and that they mimic the nanostructure in the consciousness of every single human being, because every molecule is also a nanoparticle.
Yeah, and it's the same thing they told me about the ships that are alive.
Yeah,
they're coded to the DNA of the pilot,
and the pilot,
and so, I mean, if he's not there, the consciousness of the pilot. So if he's not there, you can't steal the ship. You can't take the ship, because it's just going to sit there and do nothing, And so there's nothing you can do with the ship, if you're not conscious, if you're not resonating at that frequency or whatever. But and I always wonder. I didn't ask him that, but I go, well, what if the pilot crosses over or something? Can you recode it? I imagine they can. You can probably change the code to another person, but you at least have to be functioning on that dimension. Yeah,
they just said it dissipates.
Oh yeah.
It goes to another form.
Yeah,
that's what they just said.
Oh, okay.
Now you're channeling this information.
Yeah, I channel. Sometimes the way it happened when you mention something, sometimes they told me directly, so I hear directly if it's something.
And are you channeling, or are you physically interacting with beings?
Both. Yeah, both. But what happened with me is, after I had the drowning, I went through the tunnel everybody talks about, and I ended up in the plane of bliss, that golden light energy, and ever since then it's just been constant. The door's been opening. So to me, it's like there's a lot of beings that want to jump in. It's like, because I've got Pleiadians, and I've got the Orion Council of Light, and I've got Andromedans and Arcturians and all these guys, Syrians, and so they're pretty courteous. It's like whoever can best address the issue will like pop in.
That's right. Yeah.
But I'm very grounded too, though. I'm very grounded here on the planet at the same time, which is which is interesting. So I actually taught channeling a long time ago, many years ago, but I kind of stepped out of it and I just focused on empowering people to make their own personal connection with Source, because you have she's a very clear channel, but channeling got very diluted for a while. A lot of people jumped into it and didn't have any training whatsoever, or they started channeling astral beings or their own subconscious and didn't know any better, and so it got very convoluted for a while.
Yeah, they also, I know that they're talking about Anunnaki, right? And everybody's putting a very negative part of Anunnaki, but at the same time I was told that not all the Anunnaki was negative. And that there were Anunnakis that in different dimensional structure in a very positive way.
Yeah.
So everybody that talks like all the Anunnakis like that, they specifically, my guidance, not the Anunnaki itself, end up talking. And one day I was thinking that, and I said it cannot be possible that the entire race of Anunnaki. So after I put that thought one day, I got connection from the Pleiadians, and they said you got a gift. And what happened is they were telling me that they actually designed the etheric structure, which was designed from nano etheric technology, that basically was resonating on top of me. It was almost like a portal, because they said, we're giving you this gift because this way is so many changes happening that any time that is something out of balance will pull you towards your truth structure of yourself in order for you to go to the proper frequency and reality. So nothing can be, disrupted around you.
Yeah.
So I remember that, and sure enough, they gave me a lot of material for exactly ether technology. I posted on YouTube, and it's about how it's molding, interverting inside and out, because I was asking, well, how do you do that? It was just amazing. It was all these geometric patterns and how they're molding with each other, and how at the moment you have slight frequency thought different, and you're just molding to a different geometric pattern, and you're just pulling you towards that structure, because now it's almost like a magnet into that consciousness level. That was done from the Anunnaki.
Yeah, and I'd love to get into that. And that's why my book, Anunnaki Return, that I wrote about, that's exactly what I just wrote about.
That's
and I had these beings, like ninth dimensional beings, Enha, coming in.
And they were Anunnaki? Oh my God.
These golden goddess beings. And you look at them and you go, oh my God, what, you just say, how can I serve? That's all you can say, because they're so powerful and so loving. There's nothing controlling or manipulative.
I wasn't specifically, they didn't talk to me directly. My guidance talked to me and gave me the information what they just did. But they told me that they want to thank me for the fact that I did not judge them. Yeah. And the fact that I accepted what was happening, and that I sent love and understanding.
Yeah, that's the problem, is most people are living in the past, and the information they have is from the past. And they don't have the inner sensitivity to discern the energy that's standing in front of them, and so they'll automatically project all that crap on them.
Right.
And it's very sad. It's not fair to them, because they're returning to help to change this, and that's what they said. We're here to right a wrong. We're here to come back, which our ancient ancestors a long time ago when they fell, and it's going to be really hard for people to handle this. But every religion was created by the Anunnaki. And every bearded god, image of a bearded god you have, we're the Anunnaki. That's where we got the image. And so some of them were benevolent, some weren't. Some were self-serving.
Exactly, I totally.
And some fell. They got caught up in the earth and all the nonsense here, and they got into turf wars and they fell. And so everybody's focusing on that part and forgetting that there's a whole nother group that never fell, that continued on, that operate out of universal law. And they've gone on and moved from the 6th dimension into the 9th dimension, and they're all the way through there. There's Anunnaki on the 4th dimension that fell, that are still trying to figure it out, that are getting straightened out. But a little kicker that blows people's minds, I tell people, I said, if you look on the dinar, Marduk is on the dinar. Marduk is one of the sons. I think he's the son of Enlil, I believe, or Enki. No, I think he's the son of Enlil. But Marduk actually made a pact with the reptilians and brought them in, and that was the first fall of one of the really major setbacks of Earth. And so he made a pact with the darker forces. And then when you go to the Bush family and the bankers and everything, they call themselves the Sons of Marduk.
Oh, because I recently had can you please clarify that for me?
Yeah.
Because recently in one of my messages was like, they were saying the disclosure happens, and they said Marduk is not there, but the throne is. So proclaim what is rightfully yours. I'm quoting.
Yeah.
This was exactly the message.
That's exactly what they're saying. That's been removed.
Oh my God. This is
yeah. The fallen Anunnaki are removed.
Yeah.
The
and
real
proclaim
throne.
your throne that
exactly.
is rightfully yours.
Yeah.
That's what they said. Oh.
I'm getting totally chills on the
Yeah,
downloads.
me too, because I was like, oh.
Yeah. That's what they're explaining, that
I'm
they've
so
removed.
excited.
They've called the fallen ones before the council and said, you're done here. Why did you step out of universal law? And they have to come to terms with that. And it was very severe, that process. The ones that refused, it was very severe. I won't go into it, but they're done. And so that element is out. It's been taken out. A lot of the reptilians have been moved out that were part of that process. The cleanup is like 95%. It might even be more, that they've done already. And so what we have left over is the remnants of, the Illuminati boys that were the puppets of these other energies that are still floundering down here, which is being cleaned up as well. That's imploding, but that's kind of our job to do.
Yeah, but that's what they said. Don't watch TV.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Just stay in the light.
Yeah. And what was interesting is that in dealing with the benevolent Anunnaki, when they came in, they told me, they said, the Council of 12 still exists, and they operate under universal law. And when they left, it's really interesting. I need to digress a little bit, because when Enki was creating the half human, half Anunnaki and upgrading the Anunnaki, it was a gift. It was a gift of incredible genetics and higher consciousness and everything. It was a gift. And the beings that got that gift were so grateful that they served. They served. It wasn't a slave species but it kind of seemed that way in a way, but they were in a rock and a hard space because they needed the gold to save their people too. So they're all trying to work this thing out. Okay, how do we save our people and not screw up too much here? And we're kind of we're bending the rules a little bit by this, but it was actually a gift. Well, some of the hybrids, you might say, actually evolved when they got to a certain level and were asking about the ships and the other stuff. They actually took them up on the ships and they started teaching them and continued with their teachings. Now the hybrids, some of the hybrids we know them, that they were very genetically upbred, and then the Anunnaki actually mated with them again, creating the demigods. And that's where the demigods came from. Like Noah was a demigod, and he was son of Enki and an earth human. And Noah actually evolved to the level of immortality. And Enlil was pissed because Noah went beyond him. So there was something about the human genome that added strength or something to their genes as well. So these guys, some of these demigods, although they still stayed in service and were still very served and loving, actually excelled beyond some of and especially the fallen Anunnaki. They went way beyond the Anunnaki that fell, because they had that love and service and that mode, that energy, which allowed them to access the higher dimensions. But the story, we haven't heard the rest of the story. We just heard parts of this story. And there were fallen Anunnaki. That's where we got the image of the wrathful God, is from the fallen Anunnaki. That did happen. It was a small piece in the history, but there's a much bigger story that we're not being told. We're not being told. And the other ones that returned are cleaning that up. They're saying, okay, that the fallen ones made a mess down here. We're coming back. We're recalling them. We're going to clean this up. And we need to stop perceiving this stuff as victims and start looking at our own godhood, you might say. And I always say you can perceive everything as a victim or a god. Which one do you want to do? Because we have the genes of the gods, that we have those in us. And why do you think some of these other races are coming here and grabbing us, to get our genetics, It's like...
But they were saying that it's not only, we had a lot of genes from different races.
Yeah, there's 12 major...
The DNA is mixed up, it's not only the Anunnaki. Do you confirm that?
Yeah, you have the original...
Oh, okay.
I'm going back to the very beginning. You have the original Earth human here, and they call him the Danese man, I believe. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Was here, and they came, and that was the guy they chose, and they jumped him up genetically, right? And so the original man are the Aboriginal people. That's the original man that was here.
That's why they were putting them into these troubles.
And they jumped him up and or her up or whatever, and then after that, other colonies came, like Atlantis and Lemuria were actually originated from the Pleiades, and then other star nations came in too. So we're this huge melting pot of Star Nation genes and the original people, the original man here. And so we're like this incredible biological zoo of human and Star Nation genetics, animal and plants from the stars that were brought here in terraforming. And that it's so important. The Earth is so important. If we just stop this separation game, and destruction game, and really honor the sacred circle of life and let things evolve, this will be a genetic zoo that's beyond anything in the universe, and that's why it's so important to keep it.
And they were also saying to me just the other day that the reason why it's so important of the Earth, not only genetic, but they talk about the way we can manipulate the frequency, the feelings, the emotion. It's extremely powerful, and they said that it's what is one of the most powerful beings that exists, and if you know how to control that emotion and to tune that frequency, you are basically one of the most powerful beings.
Yeah, emotion is energy and motion, right?
Energy,
free will. Frequency. So you have to have free will to use that, which you get, with the physical. Yeah. And it's energy and motion, and to have free will and be able to move that energy and motion, those are powerful. Yeah, that's like Christ consciousness right there. When you get into that level, or Buddha consciousness, whatever you want to call it. But we have that gift. It's just that it's dormant and it's being activated right now. It's all being it's been suppressed, and now it's all it's like the lid of the pressure cooker is being taken off right now, and it's gonna explode. It's gonna be exciting times, all these people are gonna wake up and have all these abilities.
Isn't it?
Yeah. I just moved that with my mind.
Well, you confirm a lot of stuff that they were telling me. So I'm so grateful for this. And then all the interview happened in such a synchronicity too. This is amazing.
Oh yeah.
Very exciting.
So okay, great. Well, this is some great conversations now. So we were talking about the Pleiadians earlier and how they were connected to Atlantis, and you were saying how, and I've actually heard this from a lot of different things, and even channeling with Michaela Sheldon has yielded similar information. Have you had any channeling or interaction as far as the origins of Atlantis and whether there's a Pleiadian connection?
No, never discussed that. Mine was mostly everything with the technologies in quantum physics. And specifically when it came to wars or anything, information like that, conspiracy theories, I was basically kept on with a lot of information to see what it is. But after that, they told me to stop watching anything and just to focus on the positive, including with the technologies, because that was putting me into a frequency that will bring me to fifth-dimensional structure. Because if you sit with the negative implementation of media or something like that, it crystallizes, I'm quoting, crystallizes in your structure and eventually becomes part of your reality, even if you don't want to, because you end up crystallizing it. So you shift to a reality that already exists in something that is completely negative.
Yeah, you have to master loving detachment, and if you haven't done that, you shouldn't watch it. It's like, I'd say, they'll be doing the news thing. Like I'll go on. I mean, I don't watch TV. I threw mine out in the 70s, but I went into this place to get my tires changed on my truck, and they had this big old screen up there, and it's going, you should be very afraid. It's terror orange alert, and it's this and that. And this holidays, they're going to get, they're going to bomb somewhere, and I'm just going, oh, and the energy coming off the screen, I was going, oh, how do people stand in front of this thing and sit in front of it? It's unbelievable. But I've noticed with myself, I see the energies right away, and I go, okay, I'm done. You know, like, or I just see them as just with no attachment whatsoever.
Well, I was told one time to stay in the house because something they were saying to me, very negative, get back in the house, don't go out for 2 days. So I stayed, and 2 days later was a shooting in one of the schools, like maybe 2 states away. But because obviously the energy was there, they knew through probabilities the reality. And I found out 2 days later why, because that is into the collective structure now. So I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, they use that. They use all the false flags, everything to crystallize fear, and you know, and you need us, we'll protect you, and it's just like, but it's like this. It's that, what's that Hegelian concept or whatever, where they create the problem and say they're the solution, but people are figuring that one out now. So it's going out the door. But I've just seen over and over again, it took me a long time to get to that point where I can just observe it, and I can watch it now and I go, okay, here's their game. If you take I call it lamestream news, if you take everything and reverse it, you'll have a good idea of what they're saying. Take every politician's speech and reverse it, and you'll have a good idea. I shouldn't say every, because I'm sure there's some that are I don't know if you've heard of reverse speech. I think they should just reverse speech, all of them, and play it on the air, and you'll see exactly what they're about, because it's a total giveaway when you do the reverse speech on politicians, because what it has is they think one thing and they feel something else, and they do something altogether opposite. But when you do the reverse speech on them, you can hear in reverse speech their true agenda, what they really believe in, their true agenda, and it comes out. And a lot of stuff just came out on the elections, and that's going on. And there's people like John Kelly does it, and David John Oates, I think it's David John Oates or something, does it, and these other guys do it. And it's almost hilarious when you hear the reverse speech, because they're actually saying exactly what their real feelings are and their real agendas are, and I think people are moving in. The frequencies coming in are activating the DNA. One of the DNA lines is direct knowing, where you just know, and you can't lie anymore. And telepathy is also increasing, and so their role is finished here. The deception role is going to be finished here, and it's just going to increase and increase. And so the people that are playing that game, the dominate, control, deception game, are just being exposed exponentially more and more and more until they just can't function anymore. And some of the people running for office, I won't mention names, I mean, they should be behind bars. If you really knew who they were and what they've done in the past, which is all coming up and coming out, they shouldn't even be. In a way, I admire them for their total lack of shame. They have no shame whatsoever. If I had done any of those things, I couldn't even show my face on TV that they've done. I would be in a cave somewhere, hoping
but that's why
karma
you're not a politician.
Yeah, exactly. Hoping my karma wasn't going to smack me in the head real soon. But it just blows me away. I go, God, they have like absolutely no shame whatsoever, and they get up here and do this stuff. It's almost hilarious now to me when I watch, when I watch these guys doing their speeches and everything.
Yeah, in terms of free energy technology, we had a meeting the other day about that, just a few of us. But I'm wondering, what do you guys think in terms of why is it the technology's been around forever, right? I mean, even before Tesla, it's been around. But
in the 30s,
since Tesla, it's been in our modern awareness, but we've never been able to bring it to a mainstream audience or to our everyday lives. Do you think that there's any connection between the idea and the manifestation of free energy technology and a heart-centered or heart-space kind of world? And maybe, on the one hand, we could say, from a 3D perspective, yes, there are these elite families out there who are deliberately blocking this technology from reaching the mainstream. But is it also possible that maybe that's existing because we're still in a very ego-dominant society and not very heart-centered, and maybe free energy cannot exist in that dimensional experience? We really have to move into a world that's more heart-centered, and in a heart-centered world, free energy would just be a natural manifestation. So maybe it's not just a matter of us bringing these technologies to the world and making them available. We have to first move into a heart-centered world, or rather, they both have to come together.
I had a lot of channeling while you were talking. Okay, this is from the Council of Nine. The collective consciousness is the ascension of the planet, right? We already made it. What we're doing right now is literally dreaming the ascension process. So you will going to perceive the reality of technology, so whatever that is, depending on your structure. So if you believe that the technology needs some time to be put into the structure or to be revealed to people, then you're going to see a process of this type of reality. But if you believe that all of a sudden everything will happen perfectly, and we're going to have intervention with extraterrestrials and benevolent beings, and all of a sudden everything works out in a perfect harmony and frequency, then this is the reality you're going to perceive. So individually, all of us are creating our own structure of ascension of the earth. Basically, I will see, and I believe, and I know, because the knowing is the proper frequency to tune you into that particular reality. So while if I believe that, then I'm going to see this reality, because that's how the frequencies are now. But if somebody else is doubting it, then you're going to have friction in the structure, and you're going to perceive completely different reality that maybe you'll have friction in the structure, or something will stop the process for it.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed your explanation when we had our previous conversation as well, and when you were on my show, where and I use that example a lot about how dimensions are sort of like having 1,000 channels on your cable TV, or satellite TV, whatever, and all the channels are coexisting in this moment, but you're not watching all of them. But somebody else somewhere may be watching a sports channel, and you may be watching a romantic comedy. Each one is a different dimensional experience.
Yes.
They all coexist in the same space, but not everybody's tuning into the same one. And so by your conscious will, you choose a particular dimensional, or maybe your consciousness as well, you choose a particular dimensional awareness. And so I think what you're saying right now about technology is, free energy technology, is that
already exists in the reality.
It already exists by your conscious choice to focus on that reality. You bring it into
to raise the frequency in order to be something that is already non-visible, visible to you, because in a structure everything exists at the same time. If you think of it, it's already a reality somewhere in a structure. And this is one of the stuff that they were teaching me.
So help our viewers understand that concept, because so many people are out there thinking, well, I want free energy, and well, it's out there. How can you simply shift your consciousness to the awareness of it existing in your reality so that you can experience it?
Well, it goes through a lot of levels of existence. First of all, in order for you to even perceive this type of reality, you have to be as a human being in a level of consciousness. That means not only your body has to be detoxed because of all the negative stuff that they end up putting in our body, but at the same time, as you as a human being and a consciousness, what did you do for other people? And if you're from love, heart creation, and if you are always giving without expectations, this is fifth dimensional structure and above, because the higher consciousness exists on higher structure, because manifestation isn't instantaneous. We're still manifesting, but we going by automatic. When you learn the structure and when you know that every thought becomes a reality, now you can manipulate the structure And in order for you to really manifest something incredible, positive, and everything beautiful, you have to know how to manipulate that. Imagine if you're in a lower structure of existence, you have a lower consciousness, and you decide some kind of a thought came into you, and it could be explosion, and you're going to explode the entire city, just because of that thought. You have to be in a level of understanding to learn how to manipulate the structure. That's why higher level of consciousness knows how to create and co-create and manipulate a structure so nothing like this can happen. That's why knowledge like this cannot be given to somebody that is a lower consciousness, because it's a different type of resonance, it's different type of frequency. So anything that is for humanity or off-worlds and stuff like this, they vibrate in such a high structure of frequency, you will evaporate if you even go close to them, because the frequency is completely different. So in order for you to perceive that reality, you have to be in a level of consciousness to understand that is everything from the heart, and the mind. It's all together, because the heart and the mind together create the plasma that is creating all the structure, because you're made from the same structure.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Do you have any perspective on that?
Yeah, I agree with all that. There's also, I've been kind of observing, there is an evolution happening where, when I tried to get the things out in the 90s, early 90s, this technology out, I don't think the collective was ready for it, and they didn't even know it existed, let alone support it, and they didn't even know there was a major opposition stopping it, from coming out. So it's kind of like an educational process for them to get to a certain level where they can go, hey, we have a choice. Hey, wait a second, we don't have to do this anymore. We actually do have a choice, and then the next step they go, well, how come we can't get this? Why is this not available to us? And then they see who's blocking it, and then the next step would be to, okay, how do I create this, myself in my own world or whatever, with and minus these guys, So it's kind of like a step-by-step evolutionary process that we've gotten to now, and I think we're at that point as a collective. One of the people I was talking to on the other side, they said there's there's 8 billion realities going on down here, and there's collections, of
probabilities.
Yeah. So you got 8 billion people, and you've got 8 billion worlds being created and realities being created. But there's waves of collective consciousness that are moving within that, and that the people that are of a really high frequency are coming in and saying, "Hey, you guys, we have a choice." They're making a big wave, and they're going, "You have a choice. Here's another way of doing things. You can live a total spiritual life in harmony with each other and nature and be completely abundant and have all the energy you need. This is the way we live, and so that's triggering people. And then on a soul level, they're being activated, wait a second, I had a lifetime in the Pleiades, and that triggers, and that's the way we lived. We lived under universal law. We had these technologies. And so these waves are happening, and that's what I'm saying. Now there's all these it's like a lake, and we're all throwing pebbles in this lake, and some people are throwing boulders, I like to throw boulders myself. But when earlier Babaji kept warning me, he said, stop watering seedlings with a fire hose, And he said, because I was given too much information too fast. But that's what I see now, is that we're in that thing where all these boulders are in the lake, and it's just really shaking.
Ripples,
everything's shaking right now, and eventually it'll just calm down, and then all this stuff's just going to come in. But there's, whenever you introduce a higher frequency, you're going to have chaos. It's going to go from one existence to another. So when the energy comes in, there'll be chaos, and then it gets sorted out, and then it harmonizes, and then a huge burst of energy comes in. There's more chaos, and then it harmonizes, and that's what we're going through right now. We're going through this.
But the way you perceive the chaos will be accordingly to your structure.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is exactly what you were saying.
Yeah, and if you understand that, see, I can look at the chaos and go, yeah, it's working.
Yeah.
It's working.
But it doesn't affect you in your personal life the way it could be with somebody else.
Or I could be in the chaos and go, oh man, I'm getting screwed. I just lost my house. I lost my car. I could be in the middle of it and be a victim So it's all a perception. It's a choice, you know. And I always found out when I lost everything came back to me. It's like in my journey, I gave up everything. I gave all my stuff away and everything, and now I have all this 10 times more stuff back, which I don't even want. And I keep giving it away, and more stuff comes out.
Because it's given through the purity. This is exactly what you were saying. It's just you putting that frequency into the quantum field, and it's coming back in incredible force back to your structure. So through synchronicity, you end up receiving exactly the frequency that you end up giving off back to you, and sometimes it's 10 times more. That it's going to be exactly what you needed exactly. Yeah.
And it's just, I'm at a point right now where I'm saying a lot of these things that went out of my life. You know, I had masters appear to me and say, you know, that which is creating your troubles is going to be taken away, you know. And at the time, and that meant my girlfriend at the time and all these other things and a crappy job and all this stuff. I lost all of it, you know. And I was going, no, you know, fix this person, do this. And I was doing all these prayers and everything else. And then all of a sudden it was all gone. And I went, wait a second. I feel a lot better. Like, what just happened, you know? And it's that same thing. It's like that, you know, all of a sudden it's like that monkey trap, you know, and a lot of people know about it, but you know, you take a coconut and you drill a hole in it, you tie it down with leather and you put rice in it, you know, and the monkey sticks his hand in and grabs the rice. Well, he can't get away, you know, because he can't let go. He can't let go of the rice. And so he's trapped and he's flopping all over the place with this thing, and the hunter comes and gets him or whatever. But that's what we're doing right now, is like everybody's going, wait a second, you know, all I have to do is like this and I'm free, you know, I'm free. And I'm not going to lose anything. Everything's going to come back to me. And we've been so programmed to just hold on, and fear of lack and fear of this. And
to let go of our belief system.
Yeah, and it's just an old program.
And we want to change now in 5 years. I mean, literally all that knowledge was like maybe from 8 years old I channeled, but all that knowledge came like right before 2010. Yeah. Basically, from all this time I've been studying all that.
Yeah, you look at the monetary system, it's based on manufactured lack and everything else. It's like if you look at nature, like an ear of corn has 500 kernels on it. You plant that, and so some will put off 2 kernels, so it's like 500 times 500 minimum. I mean, it's exponential. It's so that's nature. Why are we living in lack? You know, why don't we have food? Why don't we have housing? It's because
the belief system.
Yeah. And it's also not acknowledging who we are and that we have a right to these things, that we have to say, wait a second, you know, I'm not, you know, I'm a God being. I came from the source. I deserve all this stuff. I'm not this, you know, savage to be manipulated and you know, used. And I think it's all about people first recognizing who they are. And we all came from the source. I mean, everything came from the source. So everything's divine, you know. It's like you cannot be, there's no separation, omnipresence. That's the cosmic joke, you know. But
and they just said you are the source.
Yeah. Because you can't separate. You can't separate the created from the creator. It's impossible. Because what was the created from, you know, other than the creator? So it's like, you know, if you got the void and nothing's there and everything came out of the void according to the belief systems, you know, like, where did everything come from? What was it made out of other than divine source, you know? So, but we have all these belief systems that other than, you know, that it's separate from, or we're separate from, or we're not worthy of this, or we're, you know, we have these programs that have been programmed through society and parents and things like that. And that's the thing, it's all getting rid of the wrong conclusions from past experiences and the old programs and the wounds and traumas. And once we let go of those, we start accessing our true self, and then everything flips, you know.
Act as if.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to act on it. You have to put the motion into the field by taking action towards it.
Yeah. But it seems to be like you're saying, it's a series of steps. It's like, first you realize, wow, I've been totally programmed here, you know, like I've got some major wounds
That's
here.
That's how it was with me too.
Yeah,
you know, they showed me everything was happening.
And then you go, okay, how do I get rid of these programs? And then you learn tools and techniques, and you start clearing up, and it's just a progression. And then pretty soon the programs are gone, and you're back to your authentic self, which is
give and
from
share
the source.
And collective, and all. That's all they talk of: give and share and do collective work.
Yeah. You can't outgive source. You know, it's like you can't.
No.
And so the more you give, the more there's a void that just gets filled, you know. It's really interesting. And people think I'm nuts, you know, because I get stuff and I like money. I go, look at these funny green pieces of paper. I can go and give this to this guy and he'll give me food and tools and everything. And it's just this little green piece of paper that it's worth maybe 2 cents maybe, but it has a belief around it. That's the only reason you can get stuff.
And it's actually taken away from you, really, the sense of humanity, because it should be just by giving. You know,
I mean, what just all you're doing is giving the guy this little green piece of paper with a belief. And so what happens when the belief
is taken
away? You got a 1 cent piece of paper, you know. So, but is that real value? No, it's not real value. That's artificial.
You replace the value of the true self of human consciousness, and that is the crime actually that happened. Money itself is not evil; it's the way it's being used. You know, so if you open the entire energy for synchronicities, you know, money can come through donation, can come somebody give you something, you can manifest it. I have a lot of examples of this in my daily life, and I've realized that, and I'm so glad that they kept me like that so I can learn that process, so I can talk about it, how you can really do it. And that's very challenging because I'm still here and still have to have my, you know, human life to experience.
Yeah. Also, too, it's like if you have money and somebody's suffering, how do you not help? You know, it's like that's to me. I think one of the biggest disgraces is to have this incredible wealth and to just totally detach from your fellow man and the condition of the planet and everything else.
Suffer.
Yeah. How do you do that? And you know, it's just it goes back to that old program. You know, you can see, you take the greatest of all tyrants and you'll see a wounded little boy in there, you know, and that has to be healed, you know, and the separation game, and it's all out of fear, you know, fear of lack or fear of being hurt or dominated, or that's why they have all this money.
Yeah, I wish we all help each other. And especially the scientific community. I keep repeating that to let go of old belief systems and completely integrate and start helping each other. Anybody that has an ideas and you know, because nobody knows the entire truth. I think the truth for all these technologies in the collective consciousness of all the scientists. So if one of them thinks it's going to be only the person to do it, it's not going to be this way. It's not going to be put from the higher consciousness this way. It has to be a collective unity work. I
agree. You know, coming here to Detroit, and I hope I don't piss people off, you know, but you drive through here and you see all these buildings and they're all vacant and the streets are were empty. I'm going, this is crazy. You got buildings everywhere just vacant and you know, it's a real mess, and it's a perfect example of what not to do. You know, okay, this didn't work. You know, this is the end of that cycle. This did not work. So what are we going to do? We're going to throw a whole bunch of money into it and rebuild everything, and that's going to fix it. Well, it isn't going to fix it because that's the same thing that happened before. So you got to do something different. You've got to change consciousness. And a whole lot of money is not going to do anything. You know, you can build up the hotel, fix everything, and try to make it nice and everything. But if you keep running the same program of profit and greed and that program, it doesn't do anything. You know, so but if you created communities, you know, where people all work together and lived in harmony and changed the consciousness, then you're going to have a shift. You know, things are going to work out, but they won't work. And I'll tell you what I've seen here in Detroit. I've seen some people walking around in the middle of this that are really holding the light. And I've talked to some of them, and I said, wow, you know, after all this, you know, it's like the fire has created these diamonds, you know, that are in here. And they've been through it all. And so they know. You know, a lot of them have lost everything. They've been through it all and everything else, and they're just like lit up. And so they've gone through that. They see where things could go, how this doesn't work, and they know because of that experience that we have to do something different. Like this isn't working, and that's what I've noticed about some of the people, that just the way they gain the wisdom from the experience, and now they're like these walking lights or emissaries. You know, and then some didn't do too well. So, I mean, some are transient in the street and they're not doing well at all. You know, so it's a combination of things going on here. But what it goes back to is that money is not going to solve things, and all the gold in the world is not going to solve things. It's only through consciousness and education and restoring people's true divinity. It's going to change things, and that's coming. That's the new grid that's coming in that's going to shift this.
I was talking to Dr. Green the other day, and we're talking about the difference between consciousness and frequency.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious both of your perspectives and if you've channeled anything even on that subject, because you're familiar with David R. Hawking's work, the consciousness scale and all that.
Yeah.
And he claims that from his research, people don't typically increase in consciousness more than 50 points in a lifetime. Now, I've not found that to be true. I've found that people's consciousness does move significantly higher. Now, maybe he's looking at more mainstream people.
May I interrupt with that? Okay, that is, first of all, there are a lot of souls that coming in very evolved frequency. And what they're saying is like almost like a spark of that frequency. You can't really download the entire frequency from another dimension because it's just too much here, and a lot of people won't be able to withhold the structure. But it's a spark of that consciousness, and you resonate that frequency into the collective now. You almost like a broadcasting that. So which is the case with a lot of people that we doing work like that. So do you. We talk about you today. So thank you for that. Thank you for coming.
Thanks.
Welcome to the club. But it's depending on the person, depending on the team of work that you came here to do, and the agreement that you end up doing with collective consciousness of higher dimension beings or extraterrestrials. It's all based on agreement. So for me, what I'm getting right now, it's I hear different side of the story.
I believe so too. It's kind of like the way I see it is like you have this grid, right? And it's this draconian grid that's held everybody down for so long. It's just this dark cloud, and you put a master here, a master there, a light ship here, an indigo, a golden child here, and you start like feeding this grid, and what they told me is that the source is giving its best to the earth right now for this shift.
Yes.
And that's what's happening, and all of a sudden it starts going from dark to a little gray, a little lighter to a little lighter, and pretty soon it just can't.
Right now it's bombarded.
Yeah, and right now it's like all of the higher dimensional beings, the light ships, and everything are coming in. It's the old grid, the old draconian program doesn't have a chance. It's done. It's gone out, and they've cleaned up, all the other stuff, in the fourth dimension, lower fourth dimension, a lot of that's all being cleaned up. And so now we're just this 3D stuff. It has to, if you realize like frequency, everything has a frequency, like guilt, fear, all those thoughts have a frequency, and that's all being cleaned up. The fifth dimensional grid is all about love and joy and bliss and service to others, and that's the frequency it's holding. And as that comes in, all the lower frequencies have to rise up. It's sympathetic resonance. They have to rise up and match that new frequency.
And if they don't, they will perceive completely different reality.
They'll implode, basically. Right. They'll be out of the story.
They'll be out in different reality.
Yeah.
Accordingly to their own belief system.
So you're using the word frequency. Are you talking about consciousness or are you talking about frequency?
Both, because consciousness has a frequency.
That's right.
So that's what I'm saying. Fear has a frequency to it. And it's
every thought has
a frequency. And so the low vibrational thoughts are fear, guilt, unworthiness, and unfortunately that's what they teach in a lot of the churches, If you want to be anti-Christ consciousness, that's where you go, But the little hint there, but it's like it's really all about love and joy and bliss and service. I mean, those are the highest frequency thoughts. The more we align with that, and resonate with that.
Tune in with that. That's why we're talking about watch positive, stay in a positive. That doesn't mean you're not compassionate about something. If it comes to your reality, be compassionate, give to somebody and do something, but you don't have to fight somebody else's war because it's not in your reality. Because these people that are in the war, for example, it's by agreement to be there. And the people that are victims are also by agreement. Why? Because somebody is learning a lesson, and maybe the victims are the ones that showing the rest of the world, wake up.
Yeah.
It's time.
I agree. You know, a lot of people give me a lot of crap for talking about Monsanto, and I call them Monsatan and things like that. And they go, "Why are you so angry?" And I'm not angry. I'm just blunt. I'm just stating.
I'm just passionate.
Yeah, I'm saying this is what's going on. You have a choice. Do something different. You know, like don't support this stuff anymore. And the chemtrails and things like that. I educate people. Look, this is what's happening. You need to know about it. And what people don't realize, enlightenment means to be in knowledge of the whole enchilada, not just a half-truth or one side of the coin. So you need to know, who the dark side is, what they're doing, and things like that. But to do that, you have to master loving detachment and judgment if you're going to do that. Because if you don't and you start focusing on that stuff, you're in it. You're part of it. So you have to but at the same time do your work. Say, hey guys, this is what's going on. Put your attention on it. Let's shift the frequencies of this. Let's bring awareness into what's happening, and then make some wise choices
and we
from
can always
enlightenment.
Suggest, right?
Yeah,
we can always suggest, but you cannot tell somebody what to do.
Yeah.
Because you're overtaking their energy.
But if they don't know they have a choice, if they don't know what's happening, if they don't know about the GMOs and the chemtrails and everything else, then they're subject to them, and they have no idea why their health is failing, why all these things are happening to them. So to me, it's all about educating people and saying you have a choice. This is what's going on. Choose. Which way you're going to go with this. What are you going to do with this? So.
And they almost said for situations like this to stay back, and you can educate and you can say, but don't get too emotional of their reaction, because they said you can't just tell them what they should do. You take in somebody's energy, because if you tune in, then it becomes part of your reality.
Yeah.
So sit back like you're watching a movie, and see how things are transpiring, because once you do it, you're in the frequency.
Yeah, it's the same as free energy. You're bringing in free energy. Well, a lot of people don't even know it exists. So how are they going to make a choice without even knowing they have a choice? And so there has to be kind of an educational process where you go, hey, this stuff exists, you have a choice. And I like the concept of, this one guy I was talking to, he goes, we got to get away from these gas guzzling engines and stuff like that. And they're really close to getting water. We can actually burn water now, and things like that. Yeah, and I go, hey, guess what? I said,
I'm flying in this picture.
Yeah, you don't need tires either, Not only do you not need the water, you don't need tires, because this free energy stuff is usually counter-gravity or anti-gravity comes with it, So it's like, and if you go to the next step, you can even time travel with this stuff. Or you go to the next step, you can jump dimensions, So it's like, it's how big is your box, That's what it's all about. So it's like, and that's why I see it's a series of steps of education that, look, this is possible. But now I see we're going to go through this quantum leap, because all this technology is going to be coming out. And people are going to see it, UFOs are all over the place right now. And
ETs also.
Yeah. And at Texas, they did a poll, and Texas, after this huge flyover, and they filmed these ships going over Texas, well, they did a poll, and they said, how many people believe UFOs are real and ETs exist? 99% in this poll. I go,
99% saw it.
Yeah, I go, 99%. I go, so the cover-up's over. It's done. It's like, why are we asking these guys to tell us what we already know?
Because of the main media.
Yeah.
Most of the people that at least I've seen is the main media. So when you say something like this, they think you literally lost your mind. So.
But now when the mainstream media does that, they look like idiots. Because 99% of the people already know they're here, and they go, why are you acting like an idiot? You're going to tell me what's going on the planet, and you're not even aware of this.
I think the problem is because a lot of these technologies didn't come out yet, and even when I talk into my family with some people, they say, well, okay, you show me what it is, and then I'll believe it. And I go, take your time, don't you worry about it. Whatever it comes will come exactly at the moment it needs to come. Don't worry. Just sit back and just watch.
And the other thing too is like, this flies, people don't understand how physics work and how the brain works and everything else, because people go, well, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yes.
You know, but the problem is your eyes are picking up billions of bits of information, even other dimensions and everything, and your brain chooses out of that what's going to be your reality. So you really have to believe it to see it. It's like the opposite.
The opposite.
You have to make it a part of your reality. Okay, I'm open to this, and ask the universe to teach you or show you, and it'll bring this to you. And if you do your spiritual practices, you start expanding in awareness, and you start taking in these other dimensions and things like that, and then it's part of your reality. But to say, prove it to me, is like, it's
You're
dysfunctional.
challenging the structure, because what do you mean prove it to me? You're the structure.
Yeah.
So I can't prove it to you. You got to prove it to yourself.
Yeah, you're creating that reality. It doesn't exist.
So you can't even fight with anybody because you're the one that created it.
Exactly, yeah. That's like, I just go as you wish, you know. It's like
as you wish, be upset, you know.
Yeah. If you want to believe UFOs don't exist, I go, it's okay because they believe in you, you know. But I said, a lot of times I'll say, okay, think about this. Let's say you went to this other planet, like you're an off-world guy, and you come here and you land on the planet. You go, man, I landed on this planet, and these people, like, they totally destroy their own environment, and they kill each other, and they do all this stuff. And you go back to your home world and tell them all this stuff, and they're going, no, that's insane. Nobody would do that, you know. Nobody would believe you that happens until they came here and experienced it. So it's the same. It's all about reference points and perspective, you know, on what you believe, and that's, I think it's funny because the higher dimensional beings in UFO, they know we're here, you know. They've been monitoring us for a million bazillion years, you know, like. But for us to say they don't exist,
a lot of testing.
Yeah.
Especially when we do stuff like this, is a lot of testing. And it's always how you act with people. What do you do? Do you give in very strange situations? And it's going to be accordingly to maybe what you lack of. You need to fix something, or maybe you study a lot for something, and you're in some kind of a situation, and what do you do? And no matter how much you think you know, you're going to be so basically tuning into the situation that you don't think of anything else but what do you do? And that's how they said they are testing everybody that is ready or not ready. Yeah. They told me, you know, we have a classic example at the ranch there, because the UFOs come on a regular basis there, and we have these people going, I want them to land, I want them here now, I want to get on the ship and everything else. And all of a sudden the ship pops in, and it gets bigger and bigger as it's coming. And you see these people running and holding onto a tree and things like, it's just watching the reaction. The ones that scream the most, I want them to land, are the most unprepared. You know, they're the most, can't handle it. And I was talking earlier about, you know, I've had Kung Fu masters, you know, and people, fearless people. Yeah, the first one.
And when the ship comes in, they just freeze, you know, they go, and it's common, it's normal.
Oh my God.
So it is a series, like you're saying, that's testing. It's like they're going to show you a little at a time until you're ready, until you master your fear. And if you can't master your fear, you're not going to have an experience. That's, you know, if a being pops in front of you and he doesn't look like us.
Or you raise your frequency in a certain level. Depending who you contact.
Yeah. So like most people, I show a picture of this little guy that looks just like E.T. You know, he has the head just like E.T. and wearing robes and everything else. And I said, you know, if this guy appeared in front of you, what would you do? And so most people would get all freaked out, like, holy shit, and they're out of there, you know, they're getting out of there. And I said, but if you stay and hey, what's up, you know, and you master your fear and send love and bliss to this being, that will make a contact, you know. And then all of a sudden you find these beings are really ancient, and they're incredibly wise and very loving, although they look bizarre. And that's when things really happen for you. But it's all about mastering fear. And on the sad part, like Hollywood, that's all they're doing is creating fear. You know, they're bugs. They're coming to eat you. They're going to possess you. You know, it's like it's just like, come on, you know, give me a break. And what about, you know, when's Hollywood going to talk about the higher dimensional beings, the Pleiadians?
Yes, I was wanting to see a movie that is all about.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually written one. I haven't have a screenplay on that, you know, but you know, I've had.
Be in it?
Yeah,
reserve a spot
exactly. I mean, I had so many producers that grab this and they want to go with it, and then all of a sudden it just gets trashed on the upper levels, because it's totally empowering. You know, it's talking about the ancient origins and Star Nation connection and where we're from, and it goes back, and there's teaching all through like between the veils. There's teaching that are going on with the Pleiadians appearing to people and saying, this is who you are, this is your real history, and things like that. And and it'll have all the action and suspense, because I've been black helicopters and shot at and everything you can imagine. So you can still incorporate that stuff in there if you need to for the box office. But I go, God, why don't they show that part? Like the higher the contacts of the benevolent ones that are helping us versus all the bugs coming to eat us or whatever. So
that's
it's
because
sad,
they want to create fear. So when
Exactly.
something happens, everybody is scared about it.
Yeah. They want to maintain the draconian grid, and that's why they do that. They're trying to create.
And they
the
maintain
grid.
it by the frequency of the feelings that we're getting, because any thought is a feeling, and the feeling is a frequency. So if you're in fear, then you have a frequency of fear in the planet, massive.
And I notice when I lose my fear, the animals respond to that too, and that's how you can really tell. Because I have birds land on me all the time, and I've actually people video. It's hilarious. Watch it. It's kind of funny to me, but the animals respond to that. But if you have fear, they respond to that too. It's like because they're very subjective, And so if you have a lot of fear, and that's the animal's going to respond to that. So it's.
They said that sometimes they're not only animals, you perceive them like animals, but they're actually projections, and which is extraterrestrial. Did they tell you that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. They and they'll use an animal, like the masters will come through a cat or a dog, and then they'll project that energy on this level to you, and give you a download or
like
help you.
It's like a holographic expression.
Yeah, it's really interesting. They use animals a lot, and it was funny because
this was done to you.
Yeah,
that's what they said.
Yeah, in Hawaii, something that happened just recently in Hawaii is that there's this place, and it's called Baby Beach, and every once in a while a turtle comes in, and I went there 4 times, and each time 2 turtles popped up, and this one big one. And I'm sitting there, everybody's like, screaming on the beach like this. And I'm going, oh, no, is there like a shark behind me or something, I turn around, this big turtle, and he's just sitting there like grinning at me, looking at me. And the locals go, I've never seen that. They go, I've never, and all the time I've been here, I've never seen that. And then so I looked up the turtle and the representation in the Hawaiian, and they said it's actually, the gods will actually take the form of a turtle and appear to people and things like that.
I was right there telling you what it is.
Yeah. And my scientific mind is going, okay, wait a second now. Okay, it's just a turtle that came through. I just happened to be in the right spot, but 4 times in a row with 2 turtles is just, it's too much.
It was them.
It's too synchronistic to be a fluke, So it's kind of interesting.
They were tuning in you into the frequency, so you start connecting.
And you know what? After that experience with that turtle, I felt like a little kid in love. Like something I had, when you're a kid and you just fall in love with somebody, you're just like...
you're happy and you stay.
It was weird. I go, wow, this is like what I used to experience as a kid.
And they just said, if you project that in your consciousness and you think of that, then you're going to tune in into that frequency,
exactly.
which is going to resonate in your consciousness.
Yeah, and they said that's the reality they live on, is that kind, like you're just constantly in love. And there's this woman I was hanging out with, Danae, at the time, and I said, you know what? I said, I have so much love coming at me right now. I said, but don't take it personal. That's what I told her. I said, don't take it personal. I said, I just feel like a kid in love again, and I don't know what just happened here, but I said, it's just for the record, don't freak out. It's not about you. Like this. It was kind of funny, but because some people freak out. If you have that much love coming out of you, and they go, "Oh shit," it's like
I don't like that. They feel uncomfortable because it's not natural. Or a lot of people, for example, if you're very honest, or if you say something, they think you're gullible, or you're stupid, or whatever words they use. And in the meantime, if you really know the structure, you know that there's no need for pretense or put the ego or anything like this, because then you're blocking the resonance that is going into these realities. So in turn, you will perceive people that are not going to be very honest with you.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
But it's funny, the love I was feeling, I had to move. Some things came up that I had to clear in myself when that energy came in. But it was this love without attachment. It wasn't like I wasn't loving somebody with expectations of anything coming back or anything. It was just I was love.
That's the biggest actually that they were talking about. Whatever you do, no expectations, just give, and that's the highest frequency for fifth dimensional structures and up.
And you can still set boundaries and hold that frequency.
Yes, you can have your ego persona, but that doesn't mean that it's negative.
Yeah, you can say to somebody very lovingly, "No, sorry, that doesn't work for me."
Sorry, goodbye. I love you.
I love you, but this just isn't working for me. It's like I respect your free will and your choices, and friends,
interact in a different way.
So, what does contact look like? I mean, a lot of people in the extraterrestrial conversation these days talk about contact, and like individuals like Stephen Greer, who where there's a lot of controversy over which side he's on and such. But his version of contact is making physical contact.
Well, they said it's irrelevant because, again, your contact will be accordingly to your structure.
Yeah.
So contact. So by that you mean that it doesn't necessarily have to be physical. It's just
could be physical and could be dimensional. It's depending on your agreement. The contact will be with you. Some people will perceive like him, for example, all his life. Some people will be. I know that I've been personally taken out of my space-time, brought on ship, and come back in like a couple of seconds before it. And they told me just think about it, meditate about it. Know you've been there. And then what do you see? What do you do? Tell me. And I knew because anything I think of is already reality. So I knew I was there. But to wake up, I'm being programmed to, through certain process to do it. Why? Because I made an agreement that I have to do it this way. But why I made an agreement? Because I have to detox my body. I have to do this. Some people don't have to. But this is my agreement. So that's why everybody will be accordingly to their own structure. And collectively there's something massive. But the way you will perceive it and I will perceive it to him, it will be completely different.
Yeah, I wanted to cover that a little bit too. I'll probably get some hate mail on this one. But basically I'm
not including it.
It doesn't bother me. But, I always tell people, what are you experiencing? Is it an internal experience? Is it empowering you as an individual? Or is your energy being directed to an external source, a person, or what's going on here, And we have a saying, just because you're dead doesn't mean you're enlightened, and just because you're an ET doesn't mean you're benevolent, So it's all about frequency and energy and inner sensitivity, being able to sense what you're working with. And you can have a contact, but it may not be in your highest and best good, And you can have, and you can have somebody giving you information that you become totally dependent on, which is not in your highest and best good, So what I always tell people is that, are you being empowered to make your own personal connection with Source? Are you being empowered to have your own contact, to generate your own contact? And who are you contacting with, And so it's like the mind in which you perceive is the mind in which you connect, So the mind that you use is the mind you're going to connect with. So if you're in it for the sensationalism, if you're looking for the guru, and you're looking for some external thing to happen and everything else, then there are people that'll give you that experience, Are you in it for self-empowerment? Do you want to have your own personal contact? Do you want to have your own information coming to you? Then, people, that's what we work with. People come to us to become empowered and experience.
And sometimes you can be chosen the way the Council of Nine, when I connected through synchronicity, one of the scientists, they asked me, we're the Council of Nine, would you like to work with us? And I agree, because I knew it would be with, and so now they're always in the front. They talk about technologies. When scientists and anybody comes, they're the ones that discuss it. Pleiadians usually stay back. Sometimes Ra comes in, but Ra is my higher self consciousness. So when they want me to be very powerful and to do something, they're telling me, bring Ra, bring your higher self. Because Ra, I've noticed that when it is very powerful being, very strict, very to the point, when you talk. And I see myself sometimes acting this way, but I think it's a bit of a too rough as a personality.
Yeah, sometimes,
Yeah. So I have to be more, you
yeah.
know.
And sometimes they just are blunt. They just say what needs to be said. They don't have any attachment.
Whatever you need to do, you have to do it.
Yeah, whatever you need to hear,
flat out.
And but a lot of beings I work with are so compassionate and so loving that I really enjoy working with them, but there's sometimes you have to play hardball, and then you get these Andromedans come in or something, and they just go, this is it.
The hybrids were very to the point. They were like, and they were telling me, be careful how you do with your emotions, because we were like going crazy here. I was working at that time. They were telling me not to take the work, stay with us and work. But I wanted to work, do something totally different, because was at school, I was doing lunches and stuff like this, totally something different than quantum physics. So I didn't listen, and I ended up in troubles at work, always in the middle between fist fights between these people, I couldn't believe it. So I quit. But the funny thing is, when I was in these situations, they were telling me, stay, go, back, forth, whatever I was doing. They said, we can't catch up your reality, because you're shifting so quickly your emotions. We can't catch you up, which reality you're going to, in order for us to tell you what to do to help you, because they see all the realities like a screen. So in order to help me, they have to see me what I'm resonating in this particular moment, so which reality they can tune in, so they can tell me, watch out here and step this way, that way, So I was able to control it, but I knew why they were telling me, because, we are so powerful in emotions, and they're a lot more collective than us, the way they do stuff.
Yeah, I wanted one more thing, this is a little more down to earth, but I wanted to mention too is that if you really want to know what's going on, is watch how they treat people off the podium. People have a persona on the podium that they give. And it's all about love. It's all about, they have this gig, or this thing they do.
I experienced that.
Yeah, and when they step off on the podium, they just totally trash the people helping them, and that's one thing. Just watch how they treat the people around them off the podium and things like that. The other thing is just follow the money. See where the money is going. Is it going for self-service? Is it going? A lot of people saying, all this money they're getting is going towards this project and this project, and it really doesn't go there. It goes into their own bank account, So are they actually building anything? Are they actually creating anything, or is it all going towards their own self?
And people that are doing this benevolent work, they are including other people, like a collective. We all work with each other. Not I'm, the only one that knows everything, and everybody just has to stay aside because. Will overpower me, and that's not how it is.
Yeah, and you'll hear I did this, and when I did this, and you hear I all the way through their presentation, and you're going, well, did you have anybody else around you? Do you have a staff? Where's the we? Where's the we in this? I know in a lot of the Native Americans, they don't even have I. There's no concept of I in their languages, but it's like every once in a while you have to say, I did this because you directly did that, and you have to take responsibility. But I don't even like to use the word I. Every once in a while you have to use it, but it's more of a we. The we is more functional. But I've seen some of the talks, and I've just been blown away at. I've seen people 45 minutes talk about why none of their predictions came true. And the books that wrote and everything, why nothing happened, and then
switch the realities.
And then they get a standing ovation, right? Because they have people planted on the corners to stand up and clap. They're clappers, and everybody rises up because they're all like following the movement, and they all rise up and clap, and they go, "What am I doing?" Like I just listened to 45 minutes of nonsense. But it's amazing, and when you're awake and you sit back and you watch this thing, you're going, "Oh my God, what?" And I think that's the real problem now. People need to shift and stop looking for an external savior or an external thing. Tap into their own inner sensitivity, and when they do that, they'll know who's who. Because we all have the BS meter. It sits right here, and you will feel. And then we get talked out of it, but we have to go back to that.
You have to center yourself.
Yeah.
You have to watch what you're doing, because it's so easy to get out of the structure. But if you have guidance that they always put you back into You get in a smack like my car. Remember I was talking about?
Yeah, and also too, look who they associate with. You
Yes.
know, off the podium. You know, because they'll name drop. You know, I was with this guy and with this guy and with this guy, and I go, yeah, those guys are pedophile baby eaters. You know, why are you dropping names like that just because they're well-known billionaires? You know, it doesn't mean that. I don't get it. Like, I'd be embarrassed if I said, you know, I was hanging out with these guys and, you know, bragging about going to Bohemian Grove or something. You know, it's like, yeah, it's like, how is that an asset? You know, how is that positive? But it goes back to this thing. I think the level of arrogance and the ego, and even spiritual ego, it gets elevated to a point where it's totally self-sabotaging. And it's weird. They just actually will spill the beans on themselves, you know, and that's what's happening. They're leaking out all this stuff, and it's catching up to them, you know, and where the money's going and who they're associating with and how they treat people. All that stuff is coming out now, which is good. It needs to happen.
We were speaking earlier about the financial system and the changes that are coming down the line. Have you channeled anything about the financial system?
I can tell a story, big one.
I'm sorry.
Okay, what are you seeing coming down the line as far as that's concerned?
Well, I'll tell you a story that they put me into big lesson because of exactly that situation. I've listened to Bashar Dyer the channel that 2016 everything will change. The next day I had a dream, and in a dream I saw him, and I heard that the World Bank is going to collapse. And after that I saw myself in a big building, and I knew that the World Bank collapsed already. I was okay, everything was very nice, it was very sunny, very shiny, it was beautiful, and I knew that the monetary system completely collapsed. So after that, the next couple of days, my guidance told me, actually I had the hybrids coming in, they said to me, Marina, you need to prepare for the next year in April. By that time, you need $3,000 in a bank account, in your safe. You need a new car, and you need food for 3 months, because the monetary system is going to collapse. And everything that happened to me, I didn't listen, everything happened. So I decided to listen this time. So I knew I had to prepare ahead of time. Just a couple of months prior to this time, they told me, go now to the bank, things are changing. We want you to pull $500 out. We want you to put another $500 out, and then buy food for 2 weeks and water for 2 weeks. And I did that immediately, the same day, because they were telling me something will happen in 2 days. So I said, okay, I did everything, and I ended up listening to some kind of a video at that time. And I'm listening to the video, you create your own realities. And the moment I heard that, and I said, wait a minute here, I said, if I'm creating my own structure, my own reality, why am I doing this, what you just told me? And at the moment I said that, they said to me, we were wondering how long it was going to take you to realize what you were doing. If you take an action towards a belief system like this, that becomes part of your structure, part of your reality. And this is the reason we wanted hands-on to show you that you don't have to put the fear and take an action like this, because then you're going to change your reality towards reality, that no matter what happens, you will be taken care of, and it's going to be very smooth transition, that you don't have to do all this stuff. So I said, well, why then you told me that you changed that? Because they said, this is the only way we can prove it to you in order for you to change the structure by understanding it. Because what we told you, like 5 months ago, for you to do and take all this money was accordingly to your belief system and that particular parallel reality that we end up seeing for you. Because you are vibrating in this type of reality because you believe that some major thing will happen and will be no food. So in order for us to protect you, we have to go look at the structure, tell you what you need to do to protect you. In order to change your belief system and for you to change your own reality, we had to do this for you to get it. And we were watching to see how long it was going to take you. So this is the lesson they're teaching you. Everything they do, they teach you through lessons. When you're aware, when you have this type of understanding, it's very easy to control the structure and to move through this reality that you need to be. So now, because of that lesson, I'm so grateful to them. I did not take an action to preparing myself. I just know that no matter what happened, I will be taken care of in the structure somehow. And this is the reason I listen to them, to just give and dedicate my whole life without expectations, day to day, and just help people, because then I start manifesting anything I need in my structure. If I didn't listen to them, I would never been able to do all this stuff and use the structure.
So are we moving in the right direction?
Yes.
You both think?
Yeah, definitely.
We are.
And too, it's like there are a lot of people that, that like Cabal and the other guys, they would just love to collapse everything and have everybody in despair and everything else, because that keeps that grid going. That's what they'd like to see. But the white hats and the other guys and the real dragons, the gold dragon, all these guys, which is another long story we'll talk about later. But they are going to back, the dollar and bring in a new treasury note, and then the dollar is, the Federal Reserve note is pretty much worthless. So they've printed so many of them and everything else, but they're just going to exchange it out, with the treasury notes. And so there's some real gifts in the way, and then the other guys are trying to stop that. They want the total collapse and everything else. So what are we going to focus on? Like, are we going to focus on the shift being an easy transition, or are we going to focus on the whole collapse and feed that grid?
Whatever you focus your consciousnness on, is that what you're going to perceive as a reality for the shift.
And I've always felt, to me, I'm really grounded sometimes, and I got by the old saying, like, praise Allah, tie your camel. It's like, so this little old lady once, I love what she said. She goes, I have no problem sitting on, like 6 or 7 bags of rice and beans with my 45, getting through the changes. She goes, I'll be happy as a clam. It's kind of funny because it was two different things. She prepared, so she knew she was okay, and she had whatever she needed for protection and everything. So now she could let it go. And then she eventually let it go. She let that go, and she said, you know what, I'm going to the next level. But, when you're in that mindset, it's good to prepare. I'll tell you a story that is really off the wall. It may sound very crude, but I had this guy, and this is going to sound really crazy to people. It was at the mindset I was in when I first got the ranch up there and everything, and I had a neighbor, and he was an alcoholic, and he hated me and hated the work I was doing, and he was always making threats and everything. He tried to encroach on my land, and he was threatening to come over and just shoot me one day and kill me and all this stuff, So that's the kind of energy I'm dealing with. And so I'm sitting there, and I come from a family that, my grandfather was the head of the fishing game, and we hunted when we were kids and everything, and I evolved out of that. But, I was very taught with how to use guns and how to protect yourself and all that stuff, But so I had my old guns that I had when I was a kid, sitting there in the thing, and I'm going, God, I've got nothing happening here. If this guy does go wacko and go crazy, what am I going to do with this? I have my gun here. I don't have any bullets or anything, and I'm meditating. And believe it or not, and this is going to sound crazy, but Jesus came to me. He said, "Buy the bullets." He goes, "Buy the bullets," So I did. So I went down and I bought the bullets. Okay, I got the bullets. I got the gun and everything. Okay, I'm good. I'm covered. And so I'm at peace again. And he said, "You know what?" He said, "That's what you needed to do." He said, "You needed to buy the bullets so you could let go of this, and you'd know you're protected and that you could take care of yourself." He goes, "That was the step you had to take to let go of this."
You have
to
to let go of the fear.
Exactly.
Well, that's a similar lesson that they put me through, but in a different way.
But he wasn't telling me buy the bullets so you can go kill this guy.
Yes.
It was like,
that's right.
It was like I needed that.
Buy food, and I was drinking and eating the water in the food for 2 weeks. Actually, I was doing that.
And then other times they came and they told me some things like that. Same thing, like stock up your pantry and things like that.
Yes.
And what happened was this huge storm came in, and it totally took out the road. It took out all the electricity, the road. Huge flash flood came down. Both ways in and out of Trout Lake were shut down for like 2 weeks. And I was sitting there, and my place is pretty self-sufficient. So I had wood for heat. I had propane for hot water. And I go, wow, it's like the electricity was off, but who cares? It's like I was.
They did that for you in different ways.
Yeah, I got hot water. I've got heat. I can even cook on the wood stove if I need to. It's like, and I was going, God, this feels really good. I was just like, going down and get my little food slot and making it up. And it's funny, like without the grid, it felt different. It totally felt different.
It felt like at home.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Freedom.
And so I was everybody's freaking out, going, we don't have power, the roads are washed out, we're all gonna die, everything. And I was just going, just having fun, like, God, I can meditate now, like there's no interference, there's, I've got my food, nobody's gonna be driving up the driveway, and asking me to do this or that or anything else. So it's all, again, it goes back to, you can lovingly and joyously prepare, because there are gonna be some changes and things like that. Or you can get in fear and hoard and grab your weapon, So
when you're into this level, you're being guided.
Yeah.
Or you're being taught a lesson, very, big lesson. So sometimes when you do that, we get bigger lessons than somebody else because now you're awake and you're aware why you're doing this.
It's funny. I also told too, by having the bullets and the gun there was a psychic barrier that was created. Like a barrier, like if you come here, this is what you get.
Oh my God, is that what happened to you? Because they were telling me no person with a negative frequency can come into your property.
Yeah,
and they said that to you too. Oh my God, it was so much similar stuff we do.
But it was kind of funny because they said now you have no more fear now because you're prepared, right? And the fear will draw the experience. But now that I dealt with the fear and release that, and I prepared, there's no more fear to create the experience, So it's kind of a funny lesson, that I learned, but the lesson will always have a higher meaning to it if we sit with it.
They teach by lessons, actually, hands-on. If you deal with them, it's by lesson, definitely.
So basically, by buying the gun, you change your consciousness about the whole situation. And turn, the situation went away.
Yes,
exactly.
Completely.
By being prepared now, I was not in fear, and now that I wasn't in fear, the situation became a non-event.
But again, that lesson was specifically for his own consciousness. They know how to implement that. For me, it could have been completely different way to implement that because of my belief system.
So let's just take this idea a little bit further, and we're almost done with the show, but I want to finish on the subject. So if somebody's experiencing something in their life that causes them some sort of negative emotion, whether it's fear or whatever, let's say in your situation you bought a gun, obviously not to kill somebody, but just to change your perception of the experience, right?
I already had the gun, but I just had to buy the bullets because I had no bullets. So the gun's useless without bullets, So it's kind of funny.
So should a person, do you think, try to find a solution to the problem that maybe they don't necessarily execute it, but by having that solution in their awareness or life experience, it makes them feel safer.
Yeah.
And as a result, should we expect that the original problem just goes away?
Well, that was what I needed at the level I was at that time. And so now I realize that, okay, I can change the whole field perspective. I can clear the fear. I can go back and find out where that fear originated that's going to create that, even past life, wherever that came from, and clear that out and change the reality that way. But at the time, that was it was triggering some survival things in me, some old survival things and stuff. And so it was good. It brought those up. But it's kind of interesting when you do, and I think it's a good idea to have, at least a couple weeks of food and water on hand, just because there are going to be disruptions and things. That's what nature does, So it's not like you're doing it in fear.
As an American, you always have a lot of in the pantries.
Bulgarians,
they don't do that. We opened the fridge, there was nothing there. But in America, people have a lot of food.
And so it's just common sense, there's going to be disruptions, there's going to be some flooding, there's going to be hurricanes.
But it doesn't mean you're going to suffer through it. You're going to be fine the way you were. And that's what Babaji was telling me. It's time to lovingly and joyously prepare. He said, don't do it out of fear, but just out of loving yourself and being kind to your body and things like that. You're gonna prepare, to do things. And yet there's another level that they were talking the way it happened, with me, that if you know to manipulate the structure, you don't really have to prepare. You basically gonna receive reality that the transition is so easy that anywhere you turn, your neighbor has it, or somebody is giving it to you. And that is the level that they're teaching me. That was the lesson prior to whatever happened to me with the food and the water. Because I totally believe that I have to be prepared with something of what I heard. And that was not the case.
That's what
So
I
that's-
went. Yeah, I went through that level I was on at the time. I went through that level,
Yeah.
and then the next level was, well, you know, if things do hit the fan and it gets really ugly, if people come to my door, how am I going to take care of them? So I started preparing for everybody else, you know, which was more service oriented. That was interesting, and so that happens. Yeah. Service oriented, and then the next level would be changing that reality
They
altogether.
said yes.
Yeah,
It's time for our show to conclude.
yeah.
Well, thank you both for joining me.
All right.
For coming from all parts of. Well, you're coming from Hawaii and you're coming from New Jersey, and to be here with all of us at the Awake and Empowered Expo, our third expo. I'm looking forward to both of your presentations. I may not have much of a chance to participate, but I'll at least poke my head in there and check
Great.
it out.
Okay.
Awesome.
So thank you again.
All right.
And,
Thank you.
We'll see you again tomorrow.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
thank you
sure.
for all the work you're doing, and keep up that good work, because it's definitely
And
necessary.
thank you for
on the
having
planet.
us.
Yeah.
Ethan.
My pleasure.
All right.
I had to do that piece.
Of course.
I know.